We would like to help you to stay productive while many of you are working from home by providing a set of digital services and software products for free. On one hand, there's connected services that makes it possible to manage and optimize production systems remotely. And then there's RobotStudio to help you prepare new projects so that they are ready to go online as soon as everyone returns. And finally, we have remote support to contact our service centers using video conferencing like Skype or Zoom or Teams. Today, the focus will be on how people at several locations can get together in virtual reality to collaborate on robot solutions using RobotStudio. RobotStudio is a toolbox that can be used for many things. It can be used for visualization to make sure that everyone involved in a project in the concept stage has a common view of what it is that's going to be built up. And later on, it can be used in the design phase to make sure that fixtures and end-of-arm tooling designs are actually working the way that they should. And RobotStudio can be used to program robots. It can be used for virtual commissioning to make sure that PLCs and robots and other equipment will interface and work together the way that they should. Doing that will save time to production start, and in particular, it will make it possible to ramp up to full production much more quickly than you could otherwise do. And then RobotStudio is a good tool to have when you actually do the startup on the shop floor, and it will follow you through service and asset management through the lifetime of a robot system. The power of RobotStudio comes from what we call virtual robot technology, which simply means that the real software that runs in the robot controller on the shop floor runs on your PC. So when you're using RobotStudio, you have real rapid programs running on real robot controllers. So you can trust that what you see in RobotStudio is what you're going to get on the shop floor. Most of the time when we use RobotStudio, we use it on a flat screen with a keyboard and a mouse of some kind. But it's also possible to step right into the work cell that you're working on in RobotStudio using VR. Most of the VR headsets that connect to a PC can be used in RobotStudio. It's just plug and play. Very, very simple and fast. If you haven't seen virtual reality before, I'm going to show you a little video, and Arvid, maybe we can run that. It's not so easy to illustrate what virtual reality looks like if you haven't seen it, but what we're showing here is at the same time we see a person and we see what he sees through his VR headset. So this gives you an idea of how it's possible to train operators in virtual reality. You can actually do the work that's going to be done in the real work cell in a very realistic virtual environment. And it's actually possible to do programming and many other things in VR. It's a good tool to have when you are working with RobotStudio. And now we're moving into the real topic of today. We want to show you how to use virtual meetings in RobotStudio. Virtual meetings is all about having several people at various locations spread all over the world meet in one virtual reality room to work on a robot design together, to collaborate. So people can see avatars of each other, they can talk, they can draw in space, they can make annotations, all while being embedded in a robot system that can run in virtual reality by means of RobotStudio. And you can do this using light and easy to set up portable equipment. If we look at the features, you can have multiple participants. We don't know of any particular limit for how many you can be. At some point of time, I guess there will be some limitations on bandwidth and so on. But you know, any reasonable number of participants can join. We recommend that you use VR headset, but it's not necessary. You can also participate using a flat screen with a little bit lesser of an experience, but still being able to do everything that can be done using the VR headset. The way it works is that one person is the host. That is the person that needs to know RobotStudio, because that is the person that controls the simulation. Then there can be any number of guests, and the guests don't really need to know RobotStudio. With a few mouse clicks, you can get into a virtual meeting in RobotStudio. And once you're in the virtual reality room, it's very intuitive and easy to figure out how to behave. The voice you will get through Skype or Teams or Zoom or something like that. We have not implemented that in RobotStudio because there simply is no need, because there are good products to do that. And you may have a need to do some messaging between yourselves using that tool. So it's good to have. We haven't noticed any problems to get access from corporate networks. We don't really see that power walls or anything like that is in the way of running a virtual meeting. So being in a virtual meeting, you can collaborate on a design. So you can bring in a robot system and you can walk around it. You can see it run, and you can make sure that you have access everywhere you need to have access, that doors can be opened, that things are ergonomic, operator stations are at the right height, that you can open doors for service, in general making sure that the design is right. Things that would not be so easy to see using a flat screen. And by doing this, you can speed up the installation and the startup time. You can also use it for presentations. If a system integrator and an end user has a meeting, it's possible for a proposal engineer from the system integrator to participate in a meeting at the customer site without actually traveling there. It's possible for a salesperson to bring in handheld VR equipment to the customer, and it can be set up in just a few minutes. So with that, we would like to show you exactly how this is done. And then I'm going to hand the word over to Anders Ekelund, who is the expert and key developer of this functionality.
All right, so let's get started on how to set up a virtual meeting in RobotStudio. So to begin with, as we said before, the idea is that there is one host who is the expert in RobotStudio, who has built up his full RobotStudio station with everything that entails. And that person would be the one who would start the meeting. So what you would do is that you would have to, let's see if I can bring up a little arrow here. So click on the file menu, then go to the share tab over here and just click on create meeting, and you're pretty much almost all set. The only thing that you would have to do after that is that as a host you would have to tell the other people who you are, what's your name, Anders in this case, and then click start. As a result of that, in a few seconds we will have the meeting space up and running, and you will get a little dialogue showing that we're waiting for incoming connections of the guest, and importantly you will get the security key here. The security key you will have to send over to the other participants. What I usually recommend, since we're anyway probably going to have a Skype or Zoom or whatever meeting up and running, or Teams in parallel, is that I'm usually just using the chat window and pasting over this key to the other participants. So this key is sort of the token you need to be able to get into the meeting and to ensure that no other people gets into the same meeting. So that was everything from the host side. For the guests, it's very similar. They would have to click on the file menu in RobotStudio, they click on share, and then, but instead of creating a meeting, they select to join the meeting. Otherwise, it's exactly the same as for the host. And once they have done that, it's again very similar. You type in your name, Bertil in this case, and then the key that you have to get from the host or the organizer of the meeting, and then you're all set. And once you have that, you can see that we have these two guys connected, and they can see each other's view. So in this case, we're still both on the flat desktop. We haven't joined VR yet. But to the right here, you can see what the other people are seeing, what they are looking at this point of view. So now comes the point that if you want to, you can select to join VR, or you can stay on the flat screen. The choice is yours, really. And you can definitely have a mix where, for example, in the demo we're going to show you later on, the host is going to stay on the flat screen, and then we're going to have two guests joining in VR, one from Sweden and one from the US. So with that said, let's go look at the little movie that shows this. All right, so here we have a simple palletizing cell where Anders and Tommy is going to do a little review. So in this demo, Anders is going to try to explain to Tommy how this cell is built up, and Tommy is going to give his feedback. So they start in one corner here where material is entering the cell, and trying to give an overview. Anders is trying to give an overview of what's going on here, so that Tommy can get an understanding of what's going on. So this is what it would look like from Anders' point of view. As you can see, he can do some annotations here. He can do a little bit of drawing in this environment to show what it means. And at the same time, he can see Tommy over there. He sees his avatar and a little pointer that shows where Tommy is pointing at. The next step these two people are going to do is that they are going to try to walk around this little cell, and Tommy is going to give some feedback that he has noticed right away. So for example, in this case, Tommy noticed that this safety gate here is really not in the optimal place based on his knowledge of where this cell is going to be placed in the real factory. So this is something that he really feels that he really would like to move this little door to somewhere else. So he jumps over to the other side of the cell and do a little drawing to show exactly what it means, that we're going to see in a minute. So here we can see what Tommy does now. He's actually drawing a little door roughly where he thinks it would fit much better. And then the host can take that information with him and keep working on this at home later on. So these scribbles will actually be saved with the stations. Next step is that we're going to start the simulation and see what happens when you actually run this thing. So the host is going to start the simulation, and we're going to see everything and move and see how these boxes get stacked. And one thing that Tommy noticed right away is that he's not really happy with the quality of how these boxes are stacked. So he's going to do some annotations here on these boxes to show what it means. So here, for example, he's really not happy with how that box is stacked, and really feel that we need to do a better job here at stacking these things on the pallet. And we can also notice here at the end that one of the cool things in VR is that it's safe to step into the cell even when it's running. So you can get some insights in what's happening in here in another way that you really can't do in real life for obvious safety reasons. So, thanks. That was it from this video. So with this said, I will pass the word back to Bertil, who will finish off with some final remarks, and then we do questioning.
Okay. So if you don't have a VR headset already, we would like to make some recommendations. Basically, it's going to be a choice between either something that's really easy to set up or something that has higher fidelity. If you look at the one to the left here, the Oculus Rift S, it's quite inexpensive, and it uses what's called inside-out tracking, which means there are no external cameras or beacons. You just plug it in and you go, and you get good solid performance, fully what's needed to participate in a virtual meeting. If you're looking for maximum fidelity, which means higher resolution, higher frame rates, and so on, then we recommend something like the Valve Index to the right here. That will be a little bit pricier, but the main price that you pay for the fidelity is that now you need to mount external beacons for the tracking. And you will also need a more powerful PC to run it. So if you're setting up a fixed installation in a conference room or some other room, then the Valve Index is the way to go. If you want your equipment to be portable, then the Oculus Rift S would be the way to go. You may also want to learn how to use RobotStudio. Like we said, if you're just participating as guest in a virtual meeting, you don't need to know how to run RobotStudio, but you may want to. So the first step is really to, before we get into training actually, let's talk about how you actually get RobotStudio. So we have a special offer that's valid for the rest of the year. It's free of charge. You can just go in and get it on ABB.com, and it will have full functionality. It will have all options, power packs, CAD converters, and everything. To find it, I would recommend actually Googling RobotStudio and download, and you should show up. But you should get to the page that's that you see here to the right. You can of course also navigate there from ABB.com. So you click on the download link here, and RobotStudio will come down and you will install it. Once you have it, you will need to activate it. And if this is the first time that you download RobotStudio to the PC in question, there will be a dialog box coming up to guide you through the activation process. But it's also possible to do it by by selecting the file menu. And in the file menu, you select options, and you get the dialog box in the middle here where you select licensing. And then you select the activation wizard, which brings you to the pop-up that you see to the lower right on this picture. And there you select, I want to request a trial license. And then you just click next. And there you go. And you select now RobotStudio Special Offer 2020, and you're ready to go. And now we actually come to what I started to talk about when it comes to training. At the same location where you find RobotStudio, you will also find a number of tutorials. Altogether 15 minutes of video that will help you to get started quickly. If you want something a little bit more comprehensive, then there is a self-paced training course that University of Skövde has joined us by offering for free. It's a 3-hour training course out of many hours of robotics training that they have. And you will find that at the link that you see here, his.se/RobotStudio. And finally, we have the robotic training centers all over the world. They offer teacher-led courses, and they are now offering distance courses. You would have to visit the websites in your country to find out exactly when and where these are offered. I know that in Sweden they are offered week 19 and week 22, but in Swedish. So with that, we'd like to summarize by actually showing you the teaser movie again that may have been what led you to come and visit that site. So we'll take a look at that.